This is Brickell Ave. This is one of the most major thoroughfares in
testament to Fox Engineering to be able to. They've gone through about 4 or 5 live views and a couple of BGANs to keep this shot up. So hats off to everybody here who've got the equipment up to keep the shot up. If we can get through the next 15, I think we're going to be all right. But then the next day or two, we'll probably be showing you people's flooded houses and hopefully not people who've been stuck in their cars or in those houses, Shepard.
Yeah, it is a unique opportunity to be able to do this. When it came ashore this morning around 9 o'clock in the Keys, certainly no live coverage out of that key. But now the outer bands of this storm, watch the last movement here, just getting to Naples. So Steve is in the thick of it and will be now for, I don't know, foreseeable future.
Yep. Still not Gulfport, Shepard.
No, I understood when Katrina came ashore and wiped out the southern part of the state of Mississippi. It was another thing indeed. This storm 2 days ago was worse than that.
आपको
hammering us right now. Winds are going to gust over 100 miles an hour, already gusting to 115 as reported in Naples. Some of the automated observation stations have already failed, likely because of the high winds, and now we brace for this. I'm going to take a look at some of the you know what? It's crazy to think. I'm looking across the street because there were some of these buildings that I really wanted to get a good look at to see if they have any structural damage, or if they have any roof damage. I can barely see them. The visibility is so poor right now with the intense rain bands that we're getting. I'm gonna put my back to the wind right now and let my back take the wind instead of the microphone here. But it looks good. Things look good. A lot of the buildings are still intact. Roofs are still intact here. A lot of the street signs, a lot of the light poles here are swaying pretty good, but they are still intact. I was watching that one palm behind our camera. It's split in two, but it's still upright, which is good. And with our wind direction, that would be projectile that would go out toward the beach and not towards us. We're well positioned here to not have any flying debris at us. There's very little in our immediate vicinity that would come our way. Again, Dr. Navarro, this on the radar has got to be pretty fascinating to watch. I wish I had an opportunity to pull out some electronics. Can't necessarily do that in a hurricane, but wow.
Yeah, Mike, this is unreal. Watching this unfold in real time. I'm seeing the images on the screen. I'm looking down at my radar, and I'm seeing that northern eye wall move right over you. It's unbelievable. I'm seeing debris flying in behind you off in the distance. The camera there showing you the palm trees and the rain. And yes, you're right. That wind is screaming out of the northeast right now, and that lightning is still going on. Those higher values of like the strongest of it might be off to your east, but man, those winds have to be incredible right now that you're going through in Naples.
Yeah, it's something. That's for sure, and it's amazing to think that so many. It's amazing to think that we have built so well in this part of the country that we can sustain these kind of forces from Mother Nature. You know, no one wants to have to go through this, but this is reality, right? This is Mother Nature. This is what it does. So all we can do, and instead of maybe being at the mercy of Mother Nature, which is, you know, sometimes becomes very cliche, is we can be smart against Mother Nature. We can build stronger, we can build better, and Florida is the shining example of that because they've gone through this so many times. And I think a lot of lessons could be learned from what Florida has gone through and what they've done to fortify themselves against hurricanes. These are the nation's biggest disasters, the costliest disasters, sometimes the deadliest disasters, and they cause immense heartbreak. And it's not just, you know, for one town. Sometimes it's an entire state, and that may be the case with Florida this go around. This is going to be, you know, before all is said and done, once again, a multi-billion-dollar disaster.
One of those situations because they can't get out right now. They've had to hunker down.
The way we build.
Ed Lavandera
that price tag would be
is down below me. We're a team on this. He's been watching equal intensity from a different perspective down on the ground. And Ed, let me know when you can come back to me in terms of what you're seeing with the flooding and whether it's making an appreciable difference to these surrounding buildings by us. This is somewhat of a commercial area where we are now. There are residences as you get in the 4, 5, 6 blocks away where we are. As you get closer into the water, there are residences along the water. We don't give a damn about property in a situation like this. We're about protecting life, and that's what all the precautions were about. But you've got mega mansions down there. The governor has one. We're talking $10, $50 million homes that were built really close to the water, and as beautiful as that is, it's equally dangerous. Another huge gust coming down here right now. Remarkable that this tree is standing, and I'm watching it split in real time, but it's getting there. Ed, what are you seeing down where you are? Let me step out of this.
Chris, I'm going to take a quick little step out. Oh, man. A quick little step out here so you can get a sense of just how quickly the water is moving through here on the street. This is the the most severe gust that's pushing through. You can see the water. You can't even see 50 yards anymore to our right. The amount of water that's being pushed along the street and filling up here, and we're in one of the higher areas here in downtown Naples. The water in other parts of the neighborhoods that we were able to survey this morning and throughout the day yesterday have to be an incredibly dangerous situation. The good news, as we've reported over the last day, is that many of the people here in Naples evacuated this area. We didn't see but a handful of people out and about throughout the day yesterday. So that is a good sign, because what is left behind, as you mentioned, it's just property. And the intensity of it and the flooding in this situation, remember, this part of Naples is surrounded by water on all sides. So it's not just the Gulf waters that are going to be of concern. It's going to be the river to the side, to the east side of town here, as well as the canals and the homes through there. All of that water getting pushed up. This is just one little spot as you look down here on the street in downtown Naples, just how quickly the water can pool up in various areas. So you can imagine in some of the lower lying areas just how horrible the flooding situation is going to be. We continue to look here off to our east to make sure we're well protected here. Everything structurally, from what I can tell, seems to be holding on quite right, but I have never experienced the intensity of this kind of hurricane with the winds cutting down visibility the way it has, which obviously makes the situation even that much more disconcerting. But it is incredibly intense here as we approach and get closer to the eye of this storm, making and passing over Naples here. But it is quickly going to turn from a wind and structural story to this flooding story. Here comes another gust. I'm out. Whoa.
Can you see this, Dave? All right, so now we're getting it in full effect up here, Dave. Ed, it's not slowing down anymore. So this has to be what Chad was talking about, where it just keeps coming. Just keep coming. It just looks like some type of sideways cyclone that's coming down here with these gusts. And I'll tell you, Ed, Lavandera, me, we're not going to move that easily in a storm. We're both bigger guys, and this could easily knock you off your feet. But I'll tell you what, it's such an easier task to be here than so many of the people who are with this storm, with their families, with young kids, and they're inside, and they have to be praying to God that this just leaves them untouched and they get past. And that's the biggest concern. You know, for us right now, we're fine. You know, this is a very dramatic picture, as Chad said, and it's accurate picture. It's true. But your heart has to go out to the families. You're watching this coverage. If you're not in Florida, if you are in Florida, God bless you, and we hope that everybody's okay and you're safe and you have the supplies you need. This will pass. It's going to take longer than usual, but it will pass. But if you're watching this from somewhere else, just imagine, put yourself in the place of these families that are down here, and we'll see what their needs are afterwards. you still hear me?
Yes, I can. I can see your pictures very well, Chris. So you can just start talking.
I can't hear
anytime.
anymore.
All right.
Let me go to Ed Lavendera and figure out what's going on. Ed, if you can hear me, pick up the coverage for me and let me know what you're seeing. We just had a huge gust here and it blew out my IFB. I don't hear anything. So go ahead and pick it up if you can.
No problem, Chris. We are down on the no problem, Chris. We're down on the street here in downtown Naples. Going to give you the continued sense of as this the eye of this hurricane gets closer and closer here to Naples. I've kind of tucked in behind a wall here to protect us from the worst of the wind. It's just too much. There's no visibility. If we can get to look down here on the street, the number of palm trees that are just blowing down the street, and that's obviously a major concern for us because with such little visibility, you just can't stand out here in this. There's no reason to and be able to see that flying at you. That can cause serious pain and damage. So as we stand here a little bit more than an hour, we have endured these kinds of wind, this kind of rain. We're still not quite at the eye of the storm here, which we anticipate will be coming much closer, and we will continue to monitor that. So it is a situation that is clearly deteriorating, and after more than an hour of enduring this, you really start to have to ask yourself, you know, we're in downtown Naples, and the situation here in the buildings and the structures that we're surrounded by are strong, and from everything that I can tell from our vantage point, of course, in these types of situations, you know, we'll be honest with everybody, it's limited. We do not have the ability right now to venture out into the city by any means and get a sense of how the rest of the structures are withstanding this storm. We can tell you what we see here around us. There is an outdoor concert venue here, and has a soft tarp over it. I've been watching that for the last 30-45 minutes. I'm actually amazed that has not come peeling apart here with these winds that we've seen. I thought for sure that would start unbuckling as it is tied down here. But what is just simply stunning is how little visibility. We're down to maybe 100 yards of visibility here, which makes this even more treacherous. And as we've approached this and endured this for more than the last hour, it really makes you wonder in the rest of the area, homes that are not as structurally sound as the areas in the buildings that you see here around me, really makes you wonder, can the homes, can the buildings, other buildings around this part of Naples and southwest Florida, can it continue to withstand this kind of intensity for as long as it has? And there's still more to come. So that's a real question and a concern that we have here at this point.
All right, Ed, I'll take it from you right now. I was a little overly optimistic in terms of the worst stuff being through. I was hoping that that's what that was before. But she's back. And it is a big blow that's coming through here. And again, as you were seeing down there at ground level, ooh, Chad, this is the real deal coming through here. But so far, this tree line is holding. And it's so important for these surrounding structures. Chad, in terms of what they can do to things, as you know, we know what happens when these big branches blow off with this kind of energy behind them. We've been seeing it about this way now for about, 35 minutes or so. And everywhere around us, it's the same. It looks actually worse in areas that are a little bit west of us. Here, the trees that were there that I was using as markers before are gone. So, Chad, what are you seeing on the radar in terms of where we are from that most severe band that went over the island not too long ago?
You are about 4 miles from where there is no more rainfall. So, therefore, the inner part of the eye wall, 4 miles away. Now, if we do the math at 12 miles per hour, you're still in this or maybe something slightly less than this for another 20 minutes. So it's that duration thing you talked about. How long are people going to be in this when they're in their homes in the dark? This is a completely different animal in the daylight. When you are in your home and you hear things go bumping and you have no idea because it's dark and you have no power and you don't have air conditioning and you don't really have any communication with any of the outside world because the cell tower's already gone down, that's when it truly is going to be a very difficult night for the people from Anna Marie, Sarasota into Tampa, because they are going to live this as well. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 115, because I think you just had 130.
All right, well, whatever it is, it is. But here's what I can tell you, Chad. As you know, we're all pros. We are in the cover of a hotel. The crew is good. Photojournalist is good. I'm good. Ed and I are built for this. It's not easy, but I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a lot easier for us than it is for the people that Chad was just talking about. God forbid you're with your family and you're having to live through something like this. Our hearts, our thoughts are with those people. It's a big reason that we do this coverage. We will be here just as we saw with Harvey. There's going to be need. And we know that this community will come together. We saw it before the storm.
Дерево повалило, причем такое красивое дерево.
looking like for him on the ground. Do we have him, Ed?
Yeah, I'm here, Chris. Can you hear me? We're adjusting the camera here a second. The winds have settled down a little bit, so that gives us a little bit of opportunity to adjust and give a little bit better perspective. That was an unreal hour and a half, I suspect, of intensity that we've seen here down on the streets of downtown Naples. Now the winds have died down enough where we can kind of show you a little bit of what we experienced here. Look at all the, that's to be expected, those tree limbs there. This is part of the tiles that came flying off the roof of the building that we're in there. And now we've gotten a little bit better view, and you can really start to see a little bit of the tree damage is to be expected. As soon as all of this passes through, and now it's starting to kick up again. Thought we had a little bit of a break there to give you a little bit better perspective, but that's what we're facing there. Obviously, the tree damage is going to be unbelievably extensive through Naples. That's to be expected. The damage to the rest of the infrastructure, we're not in a position to really gauge here at this point. We're just in the process of trying to withstand and endure what this hurricane is bringing here to Southwest Florida. So, but now the visibility is back, which is stunning, because now we can see several more hundred yards through the
was bubbling, and so I walked over as close as I could get, and I noticed inside the expedition bike helmets. And apparently there are these amateur storm chasers who have come to town who are trying to get as close to the damage as they could. But it was such a strange sight because they were in like this rental white expedition and they had on these bike helmets inside. Needless to say, they didn't make it through the water. They got stuck for a second, and then they were finally able to turn around and get out of flooded Brickell Avenue.
There you go. That's the latest from Brickell in Miami. Let's take a live look down in Naples, where the wind gusts are out of Tampa. This is the beach in Tampa, the bay. Just a second ago, and they're the anchors, of course. My timing's impeccable. Just a second ago, they were showing Clearwater Beach, and on Clearwater Beach, the water is off the beach because the storm itself is pushing the winds out to sea, and largely there is no water, not at least up where there normally is, right along the seashore in Tampa Bay and Clearwater Beach. These are live pictures coming from Naples. This is Steve Harrigan's position. The winds have picked back up again after 142 mile an hour gust at the Naples airport. I'll say they've picked up. And we're just waiting for that eye to pass over there. We really think that parts of the eye are over parts of Naples now. If you look up there, you can see it seems to be brightening up just a little bit in that area. But this storm is still on the move. Officially from the National Hurricane Center, we're expecting yet another update from the National Hurricane Center at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So in about 17, 18 minutes from now, we'll get that update. And so far, we know 115 mile an hour maximum sustained winds. The direction is due north at 100 with 115 mile an hour maximum sustained winds, due north at 12 miles an hour. So Fort Myers, it'll be coming to you shortly.
see 5 feet or 10 feet on top of that. The one wave will come in, it'll be kind of a wash, like a wave without a crest or a curl, and then that will stay. And then the next wave will come in, and the first one won't go away like it usually does at the seashore. The next wave's going to come in, and it won't go away. And then the next wave's going to come in, and it won't go away. And this is not what you want to do.
Yeah.
You do not want to be out with your dog
Chad,
when the water's coming up.
So, yeah, no, Chad, he's got his 3-legged dog. He says he's lucky. Hold on. Hey! Hey, pal! He's walking his dog. We saw him last night. I see you're out with the dog again. You got to get back inside, pal. We got the backside of the storm still to come. The surge isn't here yet. Please get back in. I'll come find you after. All right, now most of the people here, Chad, there's a lot of media. The good news is, again, they believe that most of who needed to evacuate did. We saw that local last night. Nice guy, 3-legged dog. You know, he's one of these salty types who's been here for a long time, says he knows storms, he knows what to worry about and what not to. But, you know, he's probably thinking what I was, Chad, which is, all right, so here's that surge.
to check on their homes. A lot of people have taken refuge in the local hotels. They want to get back and see. My man Chuck here, who I've been seeing walking around last night, he's got his three-legged dog, Marley. Every hurricane story needs a three-legged dog. They're out here to look around at it, and Chuck and I were talking that this is just, you know, we're under the eye right now. We know that we have the whole backside to go. Chuck was saying this isn't storm surge, this is the flooding. And you know what? That's a little intimidating. Chad, you were right. This was a flash flood. This is fresh water. This is rainwater. And it did come here to a low point, which is kind of where we are. You can see it with the sweep of the land. The water has followed that, which means we don't know what is to come yet, but we do know that this is a path of advantage. So the good news is it looks okay where we are right now. We don't know how it is in parts closer to the Gulf or the river that borders this part of Naples proper. Come on by. You want to come through? They're going to come through. Again, people are trying to ferry around as soon as they can. Now, I know, Chad, we're supposed to be telling them not to do it. Now, you tell me why. What is coming yet here that they have to worry about?
Well, Chris, I mean, honestly, the backside is coming. I mean, we know it is. And if you venture out for 15 feet to let your dog do some duty, that's okay. But I don't want you walking down to the ocean for sure and seeing what's going on there, because that's where the water's coming.
Requested to transit with caution. Break. This is United States Coast Guard, Sector 1, Florida. Out. Out.
Florida Fort Myers Airport. So whatever winds they're clocking there, we're probably clocking here. And it is just battering right now with the wind that is coming. Get a sense of that. Straight out of that front curve of the hurricane. This is not the backside. We're anticipating the wall will arrive and that calm will come. But right now, this part of Florida is still getting hammered by the very front leading edge of Hurricane Irma. And I think you can, I don't know if you can see, Chris, or not, but the wind is just incredible at this point.
I mean, I can't see it where you are, Drew, but Ed Lavandera and I sure as heck saw it where we are, and it is odd. It does seem as though it's getting shot through a fire hose at you. It really kind of weaponizes the water, this wind, and I think that was part of the concern from Chad Myers.
land in many parts of Charlotte County here. It is unbelievable how hard it is coming at us right now. This is what you guys were experiencing a while ago. They're expecting hurricane force winds about 8 p.m. locally here. Everything seems to be holding tight and people seem to be doing all right, but you can tell that the winds, we were at 40, 45 miles an hour earlier. They're probably up around 60 sustained right now because you can feel the sting of the water as it comes across, not just on your skin, but through the coat as well. So the wind really blowing here in Punta Gorda. They are well aware of the dangers here. They had Hurricane Charlie come through here 13 years ago and nearly wiped this town off the map. They're reborn and they've rebuilt since then, so they don't want to see this again. But I'll tell you, people who live here, they've never seen this. There were some folks who were coming down here just to check things out. They've never seen that lived through Charlie. This didn't even happen during Charlie. They said it happened. Charlie was such a small storm and it happened so fast. It was here and gone. Irma is just growing and growing and growing. All the water is out. When we get on that other side of the eye wall and the storm changes directions here, it is just going to be intense. And that's the big thing they're concerned about now is when that storm surge comes. Chris?
All right, Miguel, thank you very much. Please stay safe. As Chad has been warning us, you get this eerie feeling that something is over with this Hurricane Irma, and it isn't. It's just one of the properties of the process, that it goes in one direction and then, of course, redistributes.
Wow, Irma's no joke. Brickell, they evacuated us in the hotel, and the streets of Brickell look like...
Wow, esto es desde la ventana de mi cuarto, la calle. Wow.
Oh, good.
them. It's crazy.
The wind kind of picks up every now and then, just hits you right in the face. But you understand that. The good news is, so far, talking to emergency management officials, they said nothing significant to report so far. But watching power lines and some of these signs around here, we have seen some of the signs pop off some of these installations. Even the one next door just ripped off about a half hour ago. So you can get an idea of how the wind gusts keep coming and going. But so far, so good as we deal with the backside of this storm, Chris.
All right, Ryan. Thank you very much about everything. Are you okay? Or do you feel that you're safe now? Do you have people around you who can help you?
No, I think we're very safe. We're in a strong building. We've maintained all of our power, except we've lost the air conditioning now. We've got some water coming in through the sliding glass door. But, you know, I think, you know, all in all, we're good. The first floor of our building has flooded. But, you know, I mean, there are 5 of us here in a one-bedroom apartment, and I think we're okay.
Do you? I heard you said that you lost your air conditioning. Does that mean that you lost all power? Do you have any at all?
No, the generator came on, so we do have some light, but that's about it, just the backup power.
Okay. I'm having a little trouble hearing you, but I am still listening to you. So let me ask you something else. Because this is going to be about duration as much as it is about intensity, how are you fixed for provisions and stuff if you have to go a day or so before, you know, things can really start to return to normal?
Oh, you know, there are 5 of us, like I said, in the apartment. I think we're fixed for a day or 2. I don't think we're going to, you know, maybe even a little bit longer, but certainly not something like 5 days or a week or anything. But I think for the next couple of days, we're good.
All right, good. That's good to hear. And also, you know, a lot of this, once you make it through that immediate phase of urgency, is going to be about having people that you can come together with and make a go of it. So that's good. And I'm happy that the worst of it has moved through and left you relatively okay. I'm sorry if you're having trouble hearing me. The backside of this storm is now trying to make her impression on us here in Naples.
So we're out of the thick
I'm going to let you go, and I appreciate you checking in with us. We will check.
Anything.
Say it again, please.
I'm sorry. So we're out of basically the thick of it. It's moved on past us because we've been basically cut off.
Oh, okay. So let me tell you what I'm hearing from my meteorologist, Chad Myers. So the storm has certainly moved past. It is an unusually big storm. So there are more bands of weather than we might see ordinarily. The eye is certainly past. But, you know, that's only one component of what to worry about. You still have to think about those outer bands and any residual storm surge. Where you are down there in the Brickell area of Miami, you certainly should have seen the worst of it, of this storm. So now it'll be about storm surge, residual flooding, and how quickly the municipality, the government can get power back.
Okay. All right. Well,
okay,
thank you.
So rest easy on that level, and you have our number, so you can check back with us, and we'll tell you what we're learning about the situation as we do. Okay?
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, and that's a good point. We just heard from that nice lady, which is a lot of people are cut off, so they haven't been watching the coverage. And very often, as it is in natural disaster type situations and major storms, the closer you are to the actual experience, the less you know about that experience, because you're not
North Fort Lauderdale here.
starts coming back the other way, a storm surge of 5 to 8 feet. I want to show you what's going on with the trees there. I saw the lights flicker out here, at least in the area we're in Punta Gorda, so they may have lost electricity here. But you can see the intensity of the wind here. We're probably getting 50, 60 mile per hour winds at this point, because it hurts not only when I put my hand out and it hurts the skin, but even through the jacket, it is painful to feel the water hitting the jacket. You can feel it through the jacket. The storm really kicking up now. This is what you guys were experiencing probably a couple hours ago. The eye wall still probably an hour out, 2 hours out from here. The emergency services says they're preparing for hurricane force winds in this area around 8 p.m. tonight. Everybody is to shelter in place and just try to ride this one out. Chris?
All right, Miguel, please stay safe and stay in contact and let me know when to come back to you, and we will straight away. Let's get to Drew Griffin right now. He's in Fort Myer. What are you seeing there right now, Drew?
We are shooting. Okay, good? Okay. All right. We're just in the cove of this building. The wind is incredible, Chris. We're going to just try to regather. We thought we heard something falling. There's a lot of gutters coming down the street. And here's the situation. We are very much near the Southwest Florida Fort Myers Airport. So whatever wind gust Chad Myers is getting there, that's what we're getting now. Visually, this is the worst wind we have had to date. And it seems to be increasing yet as the eye wall should be approaching us now here in the Fort Myers area. Just incredible wind. I know you can't see it, Chris, but you might be able to hear it. It is just blasting through here, and there's a lot. Anything that is loose, any of the debris is now flying, and you really need to be sheltered from this, which we are. We are behind a solid building, 4-story building, taking you pictures of this. But the trees that were being battered are now laying down, and the actual cars. I see a Jeep Cherokee in the parking lot. It's just getting bobbed around in the wind. So we feel like we're getting the brunt of the storm in Fort Myers right now in terms of the wind, Chris. Be interesting to see if Chad Myers can confirm the strength of the wind that we're seeing right now, right near the airport. Chris?
Oh, he'll measure it, and I'll pass it along straight away, Drew. And obviously, you know you've been through this before. You're going to get it one way. There's going to be a window where that eye goes over, if it does, where there'll be some relative calm, and then you're going to get it the other way. That's the way we're getting it right now in Naples as the backside of the storm, even though there's not a wall on the backside. It's plenty strong. The gusts we're getting are impressive, and you have the added consideration of storm surge and the added consideration to that of the weak points of leverage of all the structures and the trees that took all that force in the opposite direction. So now the way that they were leaning is getting buffeted by wind in the opposite direction. That can have a compounding effect, makes it even more likely that you're going to have damage and extra debris in the debris field. So Drew, hang tight there and just give me one sense. What are you hearing from people inside those shelters? Anything? Are people relatively okay? Are they dealing with the situation well? You're hearing anything at all?
Yeah, they're dealing with the situation fine. And right now, this is they're glad they're in a shelter. Quite frankly, there were a lot of people ho-humming, wondering whether or not this was not going to be what it was. They are realizing now that this is the real deal. This is why they're in a shelter. And this is why we're staying out of harm's way. Chris, we'll keep our shot up as you continue to move along because the wind is impressive. It takes the breath out of me and it takes the words out of my mouth. So we'll just show you the pictures.
Listen, I'm with you. I know. from whence you speak.
windows, but in case things start to get more intense, we're going to go inside of the ballroom, and then we possibly might even move into the stairwell. But again, we are indoors. A common feeling that's going on right now is everybody's a little anxious. We're waiting for the effects of these storms. We're feeling that anxiety. Some people scared. We did talk to someone earlier who you guys heard from. She was saying that this is the first time she's ever experienced anything like it, just like for many of us and our viewers, we've never experienced anything like this before. So we're all kind of sitting on the edge of our chairs waiting for this to come. But as I'm still broadcasting right here, you can still hear, I'm sure you can hear what's going on outside, even though we are inside. We're going to
past 2 days, it's like, you know, B block type story. We bury this after what we've been through. But I want to show you a couple things that if you're at home or when watching, you know, via generator power, or if you're listening to us on the radio, a couple of videos here. You see some substantial wind blowing and trees just whipping in the wind. This is what South Florida has been dealing with for, you know, way over 24 hours now at this point. Yesterday into today, gonna continue on into tonight. And then one more piece of video here, and this is what you're gonna step out to. A lot of folks are some of these broken trees, snapped branches. As you walk out for that first time, maybe some people have already ventured out. If it's clear in your neighborhood and some of the winds gusting sounds have died down, I bet a lot of people are unlocking their doors and have, frankly, cabin fever at this point. Just want to see for themselves what their front backyards look like. A lot of you gonna come out and see this. Down trees and branches, possibly fences, maybe some street signs, that sort of thing. As we take these live pictures out again on Fort Lauderdale Beach and show you the sand just whipping across. Definitely picking up another band here after a nice little break that we had, but it seems to have picked up again. We'll look forward to that next lull. But there is a significant amount of sand buildup on the streets. We've spun around the island a little bit. There's some branches down. We saw one wall that had some brick pulled away from it. Take a walk out onto the street a little bit now. You'll see those. You're looking south on A1A, and if you're listening on the radio, picture, if you will, you know, where it kind of veers to the west as it goes. You know, it's one-way traffic. The one way's going south, one way's going north. The way going south is further west. That's just a big sand pile there, right at Las Olas and A1A. That's going to have to get cleaned up, but it's not that bad. We'll take it. You know, like if sand and some downed trees are what we're going to deal with, and you know, these power outages, I can't imagine you find too many people that are gonna complain about that compared to what's happening on the West Coast, guys.
I think you're right about that. Absolutely. Brandon Beyer joining us from Fort Lauderdale Beach. Well, like you said at the outset, it is improving there. It has been improving in spite of what it looks like for the past couple of minutes.
It's sporadic. It's on and off and on and off. Down south, the worst of it, you know, it's moving north, so things are looking a little bit better down there. And some people in Cutler Bay are doing what they're not supposed to. They're stepping out to check out the aftermath.
They are. I think Rosh Lowe is on deck with us just before we head down south. Rosh Lowe is in Miami. Rosh.
Yes. Hi, Craig and Bill, because I wanted to show you some of the things that we discovered here as the worst of the storm is obviously past our area. But look at this right here, and we won't go too close so we can be safe here, but it must have been a strong weather system that moved down this portion right near Biscayne Boulevard. Look what it took down. This is the Miami-Dade College campus here, and it took down these bricks. Now, there's something interesting in the background if you're hearing it. Those are sirens, obviously, and what's interesting about that, we've seen now police officers can be back out on the street again. Firefighters, they are going around assessing the damage. And what they are going to find is what we found. There's streets like this. I mean, look at this huge chunk. Walk over here for a second. Look at this huge chunk of brick right there. And that's the facade up there that took off all of these bricks from the side of the building. Excuse me for that. And then let's move over here to the other building. And you can see these windows which are hanging gingerly on the side of the building. Can you see that? There are a few that are open, but then there's a few that are just hanging gingerly. And on the other side, we'll go for a walk here. On the other side of this building is a crane. It's a crane right up there that appears to also be hanging gingerly up there. So this is going to be, I believe, the story with this hurricane is that because we didn't get a direct hit, you're not going to see catastrophic damage, but what you will see is this was strong enough that it did this, and this is going to take some time. especially when you're talking about an area like this in downtown Miami where there's a lot of people. This is a college here. This is a building under construction. You have to make it safe for all the people to work here, to come back to work. When will that be? We know that Miami-Dade schools and Broward schools are closed indefinitely at this point. When will people be able to get back to their lives? Well, I would imagine after this cleanup. And we saw it here today, just about a half an hour ago, walking around with Miami police. And I'll show you, this is the type of damages we're seeing here. Awnings that come off, this potted plant that was down. You can see that there must have been something strong that moved through this area that caused this. But you're going to see, you know, light posts or on top of the light down in the street. So the bricks that come down. So this is the type of damage that you're going to see, but it's going to be enough where, and in enough spots with frequency, that it's going to take some time to clean all this up. And you add to that more than 1 million people throughout the state now, I believe the number is, without power. So the big question I know a lot of people have is, when can we get back to our lives? When can we get back to work and school? With school, we know that's indefinitely, they don't have an answer indefinitely. Downtown Miami, where we have businesses like this, and you can see City of Miami Fire Rescue, they're out, as I mentioned, looking around to see what's going on, to see the damage. So it's a big question. They're going to have to come in here, and I'm sure with a lot of these construction sites, you're going to have issues very similar to this. You know, just look at that, Calvin. Can you see that glass that's just hanging off? That's just dangling off right there. One more. That's why we're not under it. One more wind gust that could pull it right off, and then, you know, strong enough to take. Let me show you this. Take a brick like this, and just have that brick come, you know, crashing down like this. And thank goodness no one was on the streets here. And that's why we always say. And with this storm, you know what? It was so bad that no one was going to venture out to the streets. We spent the day here, and if anything, what you saw was people up in their condos taking photos. No one was going to face this hurricane like we saw with past storms.
I got to say, Raj, it's good to hear those police sirens out there, because it means that now it's safe.
They're back to work.
For rescue personnel to get out there, emergency services. And maybe it's not a big emergency. Maybe it's just block off a live power line, or, you know, that kind of thing.
I should say back to work. They're able to do their work now that the weather is. One thing, it's interesting when he points out that building, you know, it's under construction.
So again, the gusts of wind are still obviously very strong. You can see down the street that way, there's debris blocking the roadways. Down this way, it's like a minefield. I mean, you have high water, you have palm fronds all littered throughout the way. So it's just a very, very dangerous situation out here. So again, just to describe it for you so that you can understand if you're listening to this on the radio, you have these streets where there's water is pooling from the storm surge, and it's really creeping into getting inside of some of these homes. So that's really the concern out here. So we're going to stay out here. We're going to monitor this, and we'll have updates for you throughout the day. But certainly this is what they were talking about. This is why they wanted people to evacuate, because once the water comes inside your home, once it reaches up, I mean, nothing's stopping it from getting inside of there. We're in Cutler Bay. Andrew Scheinthal, back to you.
Okay, Lou Martinez and Jeff Lennox here stepping in for Craig Stevens and Belkis and Ray doing the swap out. And we are, still transitioning through a number of
sunshine, but still some squally weather as the feeder lines come through. And hopefully then by Tuesday, we can just say goodbye to Irma.
Bye, Irma.
Not quite yet, but we're getting there. Phil, as we're getting inundated with water, I know you're getting inundated with data and information from this storm, and our concerns, especially tomorrow, I'm sure are going to be.
we're in the middle of an intersection here at Andrews and Southwest 6th Street, and as you can tell, the wind gust, wow, really starting to pick up here. The power is out here like it is in most of Fort Lauderdale, and the scene here very similar to any of the other streets in Fort Lauderdale. You can see debris on the ground, a lot of palm fronds on the ground. Wow, we're hearing debris falling around us, and some big debris right next to us here is this traffic light. Now this power is out and this traffic light is down, and all of these intersections are being treated as a four-way stop, although there aren't really many cars on the road. But as I say that, there goes a car waving to us. I hope that they drive very safely. The roads are flooded right now. Some intersections, like the one just north of where we are at Broward and Andrews, there's like 2 feet of water there. It's almost like a river with a current flowing through. And if you take a look behind me here, this is also a situation we're seeing a lot of in Fort Lauderdale. Down power lines, and there are quite a few down power lines, and those down power lines are in the water as well.
move right over Tampa where you are, but we're going to watch it closely. You may still, again, just be on that western eye wall, which is strong enough, Anderson.
So I just want to reiterate, because it's a little hard to hear you. For people in Fort Myers, you're saying the eye will not cross over Fort Myers.
No, it's 15 miles east-northeast. So they're still in the eye wall. They're just on the western eye wall. I mean, it's still strong, but they're not going to see a calm in the winds. And then they'll continue to deal, of course, with that surge coming in on the back edge. But it doesn't look like they're going to get in the eye. It's already passing to their east-northeast.
All right, well, that's a little bit of good news for them. Tom, thanks very much. I want to go to Drew Griffin, who is in Fort Myers, has been for days. Drew, that's a little bit of good news. You're still going to get that western part of the eye wall, but not the eye passing over itself.
Anderson, actually, we are at the airport, near the airport, which is east, just east and south of Fort Myers. And we experienced the eye. We experienced the calmness of that eye. We experienced the birds coming out and chirping, and everybody out here kind of ran out. They're gone now, but they ran out, took their dogs out, took a little picture, and then ran back in, because just as we were coming back up, that eye wall dissipated, and now we're getting the wind directly from the opposite side. We're panning up to the clouds. I know you can't see this, Anderson, but not an hour ago, those clouds were going in the exact opposite direction. If you've never been in a hurricane, this is the experience of the swirling radar that you see in real life. These clouds that were hitting us from the northeast are now coming around and about to hit us from the southwest. We are getting battered almost straight from the west right now, as that eye, the southern end, I guess, of the eye wall is pushing through us now, and now we're getting what is the backside of the hurricane. It's usually has less winds. We had top winds, I would say, around 110 when it came through. It's usually less, but now all the debris is on the ground. Now all these big branches that blew down, like this one, from the first part of the storm, and the gutters that have been blowing down are all over the place. And so even though the wind may be less, it's still very treacherous because everything is loose. The rain is here. Ditches are flooded. There's just so much precarious danger left out here, even though people may think, oh, well, we survived the worst part of the storm. There is no really worst part of the storm until the storm is completely gone. And that's why people say, you know, the authorities say, just stay inside till it's over. Anderson?
And I know one shelter that you were outside of earlier had lost power. I assume power is still out there.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, I'll try to get there. I don't know if I can drive there tonight to see what the situation is. I'm sure they have some sort of emergency power where there is some sort of light. But yeah, this whole area has lost power. And people are just going to have to deal with that tonight as darkness falls. But it does look like eventually, in the next couple of 3 hours, we're going to see these winds really begin to fade and Irma begin to move on up the coast towards you. Anderson?
Yeah, Drew, thanks very much. I'm going to go to Alex Markhorn, who is in Sarasota, about 50 miles south.
Street in central Sarasota. If you look across the street, you can see the tops of those palm trees just getting tossed around like rag dolls. Now you can see these street lights. We still do have power. I can't imagine that that's going to last through the night. Officials here tell us that the power could be out for weeks. It is still on now. What we are beginning to see, though, are the branches, the palm fronds, metal siding, you know, that debris in the streets that, as the winds become more violent, become much more dangerous, become those flying projectiles. Anderson, it is a funny feeling knowing that this is about as good as it's going to get out here tonight, minute by minute, hour by hour. The conditions are getting worse. We are expecting the eye of Irma to pass over us or nearby around midnight, but the winds are going to pick up significantly in the next 2 hours. It's just after 7 o'clock now. We are expecting hurricane force winds at around 9 o'clock, somewhere between 75, 95 miles an hour with gusts over 100 miles an hour. I was speaking with the city manager's office earlier today. They said that they are ready and waiting for Irma. Anderson, they don't have to wait much longer.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, it's bad enough to experience an earthquake as people on the East Coast did during the day, as we saw in Miami and Miami Beach and West Palm Beach. It is an entirely different thing to experience a hurricane force winds in the dark of night, when you can't see what is hurtling toward you, when you can't see, you hear things snapping, you hear things breaking, you hear metal twisting, you may see transformers exploding with that eerie blue light, but you can't see what is out there, what is moving down the street. It makes it all the more terrifying for people who are debris in the road. How are things now that you're seeing?
Anderson, I'm about to show you something that has shaken me unlike anything I've seen in 25 years of reporting and 8 other hurricanes. Thursday night, I stood right here and interviewed the owner of a bar called Snappers and a bunch of very festive Key West residents who were debating whether to evacuate or stay. Peter was at that time determined to stay, hole up inside his bar. He changed his mind, and good thing he did, because it's completely gone. Look at this. Gone. The entire bar. Right here, where I sat and had shrimp tacos with my crew after the live shot and hung out with these amazingly warm, gracious people. It's gone. It's been shoved up by the storm surge into the side of the fence of the neighboring businesses here. This was the bar. You can see they tried to board up with plywood, but the storm, the winds blew through it, and then inside the restaurant shoved everything up against the western wall of this place, and your heart just breaks. Peter, the owner of this place, I just left him a voicemail. One of his employees told me he had AAA insurance. I hope that's the case, because this is a total write-off. You can see these were all slips for jet skis that have been shoved up, blown into the restaurants. This was a hugely popular place on the Atlantic side of Key Largo, an institution for many years. Peter's from the Netherlands. He bought it a couple of years ago, expanded it. But if this is a sample of what we're going to find down in Key West, you know, paradise, the southern paradise of the United States as we know it, has fundamentally changed, Anderson.
You know, Bill, I know we have some before pictures.